we are going to start a little code along on how to structure your JSX in React. This isn't like a super technical code along. It's mostly just a strategy to keep things clean for you in your JSX while you're building it out, so that you don't have a hard time making new components and things like that, and completely having to restructure your stuff when you do it. So I'm going to make a to-do list. We're just pretty much going to do showing the list of to-dos and adding one to the list. And that's pretty much as far as we're going to go. And to show how, if you structure your JSX in a certain way, it will make it easier for you to make new components as you go along, instead of having to plan it ahead of time. So there we go. All right, so that's our site. All right, so like you saw, we just have list in here. So we are going to work with that currently. So we're going to start with pretty simple. We need a list of to-dos. So we're going to go ahead and set up a list that we can pull from. Use state. So this will just give us some to-dos to use in our application. I'm just going to go ahead and add a random one. Go with that. All right, and then just to show that we can show them, we'll go ahead and do this. So continuing on, so that should, if I just save, that should show us a new to-do. So I'm just showing the first one there. So let's go back. Obviously, we can't just keep doing that. So let's go ahead and we're going to find a way to list all of them. So if I add another one, now, obviously, we need to list them all, so we're going to do that. For each to do, we are just going to show that to do. It's pretty straightforward. I forgot a parenthesis. So we should be able to see it again. It does not look pretty. They're just kind of smushed together. So yeah, we want that to look a little better later. But for now, I'm okay with this, and we're going to do just setting a new one. We're going to need a button that we'll click to go set a new one. Alright, so if we go look now, we should see our button there. Looks horrible, but we'll make it better in a minute. Right, so we've got our to-dos sitting there. We've got a button that currently does nothing. And now we'll go back and make it do something. So let's call it start new. So this is a new function we're going to do. Still on Angular for a second. All right, so now what do we want this to do? We just want it to add our new to-do, or we want to change to some state where we can see a new to-do. So I'm gonna add a new thing called creating, which will be a Boolean to know whether we are creating a new to-do currently or not. And it's going to start as false. Right. Currently not using those. So when we decide to start a new one, we just want to set creating to true. So start with that. That's not really going to do much right now, but we will add something here. We will add a bit to if we are creating, then we want to show an input tag. Otherwise, we'll show our list of to-dos. Either way, I'm going to leave this button there for now. But yeah, so let's give that a shot and see what that does. So right now, we have our list. Yep, and now we have an input tag. It doesn't toggle it back, so we obviously need to do some more work to make it actually do the thing. So we know that when I type into the list, I want to keep track of what the person's typing in so that when they go ahead and create the to-do button, then we'll actually be able to create a new to-do. But I already have a problem here where this button, it looks really nice here. Like I can click it and create a new to-do, but we know we already have that set up to only start a new one, to toggle this. So what I want is something more like this. And I want to take this button and move it in here with this other bit of to-dos here. So I want the button just to go with the list of to-dos. You can see how this is already getting kind of messy. So that's already getting rough, and then we have to do the same thing here. Just encapsulate this in a div. And then we'll have to do the same thing, giving it its own button. And this button will have something called like create to do. So yeah, already this is getting really rough, right? This looks not great at all. My JavaScript interpolation right here. Yeah, it's looking rough. Yeah, there's nothing called create to do yet. Let's go make that. Just to make that stop complaining. Yeah, so now, that didn't work out. Here we go. Have to encapsulate this also in some interpolation tags. Now we're good here. Comes back. We called this button the same thing. Let's fix that real quick. We'll call this create to-do. And that, my friends, is why you do not copy and paste. All right, there we go. And now in theory, I could click this and it would actually create the to-do after I type it in. We haven't put that functionality yet. But already, this is looking not fantastic. It's getting really big, and this is just to do one little thing, and we really don't want all this logic in here. So this is where I would try to pull this logic out to the spot. So we're going to make ourselves a little function. Before this version of React, there was, when you would make a React class, there would be a render function. I'm going to go ahead and kind of create my own little render function. It's going to be like render main content, probably not the best name, but it'll work. And use that. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to return this exact thing we have right here. It's my indentation a little bit. We don't need these anymore, so it's a little cleaned up. Still not great, right? Because we still kind of got the same thing, but at least now I can do this. I can call that function, and now it's going to return me the JSX I want. This function still looks kind of like garbage, but my main return down here is looking much cleaner. So we can follow that same logic for these. So now I'm going to want something like render new form. We're going to grab that, paste it in. Go back a little further. All right. And same thing here. We'll just call form. And we can just keep this going. And the to-do list. So I left a bit of div behind. All right, so the only thing we need now is go ahead and tell it to go ahead and return these things. So here. Here, just go ahead. All right. So now, with all that done, so now we have a couple very small pieces. We have a piece here that renders our to-do list and then has our button to start a new one. We have a piece here that renders our input tag and has a button to create one. And they're all kind of isolated their own little bit. If I have a problem with any of these, I can just go to that one render function. And then we have this one here. It's just responsible for, and make this a little cleaner, it's just responsible for deciding which thing to render. There we go. All right, let's check that out. And there we go. So it needs to do, and we're back here. Again, don't have it set up to actually create one yet. but we're here. Yeah, these tiny pieces become super easy to split out into new components. So let's go and try to actually make one. So first we need a way of tracking the one we're making. I'm going to do it on change here. So anytime I type in, we are going to set new to do. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and use the event set new to do. Event target value. Set new to do doesn't exist yet, so we'll go up here and make it. Next, to do. Started with, actually we started with, yeah, no. Don't want it to exist until we start typing. So yeah, that should do that. And then on click, it'll create the to-do. Basically at that point, what we'll do is we will set our to-dos to what they currently are plus to-do. And that is that. So now I should be able to go up here and actually set this to start like it should, which is as an empty array. And I should be able to make print. And as soon as we create that one, set creating to false. All right, let's just go ahead and do that real quick so we don't have to look at that nonsense. Need to add interpolate this in. All right, let's go take a look. There it is. Cool. So no problem. Awesome. So that works fine, but we're getting some pretty big code going on here. So this render to-do list thing has gotten decently big, especially if you wanted to, say, start marking them as complete, which means when you create them, you would need them to look differently. So say when I create it here, I now want it to be able to be complete. Well, now I need it to be an object, so it'll have a name for my to-do, and then it would also have like completed start as false. All right. So now I can't just display this down here as we have to do dot dot name, and then we go ahead and add to some logic to say do dot completed so otherwise eats Right. So let's see how that works. Yeah. So now I've got that working. Now I've got some new logic here that is not really working out for me. It's getting a little big. If I wanted to be able to have another button to click to say, okay, let's complete it by each one, and now I have to add that. We're not going to write the complete functionality, but just as an example. It's not right place in the div. And each one of these would say I have a button that just says complete, let's say Mac. All right. And we are going to go ahead and go through the appropriate React thing where you make a key for each of these items. So that doesn't get confused. But yeah, now this is getting really big. So we're going to go ahead and move it to its new home. Now that it's gotten this big, it's caused us all these issues. Now it's time to move it to another component. And this is where it makes it easy to say, okay, I can easily take this, make it into another component, and use it there because I already have it all in this method. So I pretty much just take this, put it out, put it over here, put it in. Back. So we need our to-do. So that gives access to those, and we should be able to map over them that easily. So here's another thing we can do to make that easier. Continue with our method of doing this. We're going to take right here. All right, doesn't seem to have any problems with that. So now, use that. I'm going to pass in the to-do and the index. Should have it up here. All right, now the only problem is we don't have anything called start new. I'm going to say we're going to get that from our props. So now over here where we just got rid of this render to-do list, we should be able to just get rid of that entire thing. And instead over here, we would just say render our to-do list component, which doesn't exist yet. Go here and just should be there. And let's go check that out. We still have some problems. Probably map of undefined. Okay, so our new component doesn't know what to-dos is. Right, because we told it was coming from the props, we never gave it to it, so now we just do these. Alright, looking good so far. Need to do one. Hey, and mark complete does nothing, but it's there. Another one. Alright, so that worked. So now we have just our to-do list being rendered right here. And that kind of showed us like where it was a good idea to make a new component. We can just go ahead and go on the same lines and do the same thing with this. There. We can try and add React. Right. So this will be our new to-do form. Obviously it doesn't have our set new to-do or our create to-do things. We're going to go ahead and give it some props. Next, we say our create to-do is going to come from the props, and I could say that the set to-do will also come from the props, but I don't think I want to do that because it feels like hanging on to this new to-do the person is typing is the job of the form. It's not the job of the overarching app here. So we're going to go ahead and take this away and give it to this component. And that's what we want. Usually, so first, let's go ahead and get rid of this and render our form method, our form component to do. And we are going to give it our create to do function. And also it's going to need, that should be it actually. So as our create to do function, we are going to call that with our new to do that we've been keeping track of this entire time. Cool. Up here we're going to go ahead and need our use state. And there we go. So everything looks happy in here. Let's go over here. This is mad because I have no idea what new to do is. But we are passing it in. So should be happy about that. Let's go ahead and make this thing. So I have a misspelling. All right. So now we should be down to just rendering two components. Yep. Right here we named it with the uppercase. All right, So we have these. I think I was going to click these still, and we're probably not going to get to that, but this is how you can keep things really small. So we just have a render main content here. That's all it does. It decides whether to render our to-do list or our new to-do form. And you could even move that logic into the forms themselves. You could just pass in the prop of creating to them, and it could decide, okay, do I return anything, or do I just return nothing? And then you wouldn't have to have that logic there. I don't like doing that because then both of them have to keep track of whether you're currently creating or not. And I feel like that's just the job of the full app component. So even here, we move into the render to do bit like so. Keep trying to keep this down here a little cleaner. At that point, you could take this, make it into its own component that is just a single to-do component if you wanted. And then so as you map through, you're just rendering, instead of calling render to-do, you're rendering a single to-do component in case you need more complex steps like actually doing the completed bit. Yeah, so pretty clean now. We have just like these three functions here. These two both handle the whether you're creating or not, and this just handles the rendering, and then all that other HTML or JSX is extrapolated away to these other two things, which are both very small in their own right. So thank you guys for watching.